What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what shorts are doing, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is down slightly, 0.19%, nothing overly crazy. 758 the low, 785 the high. So you did see that it wanted to break out. Unfortunately, it did bounce off of a heavy resistance level, so I'll go over that in a second. But 51.3 million shares being traded, 93.3 is the average. So you're seeing a little bit low for volume today, but it's not just NIO. It's happening across the board. So I think just right now, the market's waiting for the next big catalyst, and even more so in NIO's case. So today, no news from NIO, no SEC filings. Only thing that kind of came out in the last day-ish since my last video was this. So NIO sets new single day record with over 145,000 battery swaps. So on October the 1st, they hit this number right here. So pretty impressive stuff. The only problem is, as deserving of a round of applause this is, it's not a real good reason to buy NIO, nor is it a reason to sell. It's a good FYI, and it does reconfirm what NIO is doing and how demand is building, but still not really a good reason to buy NIO. And so that's one thing that it's really like NIO's been struggling with. It just needs that nice positive catalyst to really push it over these levels. So with it right now at 769, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So $7 is going to be a strong support, and then 783 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. That R1, so that 783, that's one thing that NIO has been really struggling with over the last little bit. And regardless, even when it did kind of pushed to that 802, so the most recent 52-week high, still got dragged back below this R1. So that's going to be that key point to really watch for in the short term. And in all fairness, it's actually not too far off from where we are. All it needs, like I said, is that nice positive catalyst. And you never know, once I guess we get more PRs coming down the pipeline, more speculative things, and once we get, I guess, essentially more operational updates, for instance, the ES8 demand, if that's still high, and many things like that. So more operational updates, that might be what NIO does need to really push it above this R1. So let me know your general thoughts on that. One thing that is very odd is shorts. So shorts are returning 3.5 million shares, 10.86% of the free floats being shorted, works to be 150.29 million shares overall are being shorted. The reason why I say this is weird is because I look at a lot of different stocks throughout the day, and most of them, again, like heavily shorted type of scenarios, shorts are increasing. So this seems to be a very abnormal scenario, but I'm not complaining whatsoever. Shorts can go F themselves a little bit. So at the end of the day, hopefully they do continue to return and break their trend that they have been on, where they've been kind of increasing, because I think in reality, going into NIO's upcoming earnings, which is still a good month and a bit away, I do feel that we will be below that 10% range, and so single digits, so that would be pretty good. We'll have to wait and see, but again, shorts returning 3.5 million shares is relatively optimistic if you ask me. It does really signal that today's red day is not justified. Looking at the options, we are seeing 6.78 million in calls, 1.1 in puts, 45% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. So definitely good to see. Net premiums going up slightly, nothing crazy though, 55,000. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 8 to 850. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 750. So at the end of the day, a lot more upside is anticipated. These are some of the transactions occurring on the secondary market. So not all that much. Most of the volume is actually coming from algorithmic trading today, but based on this, you see some buying, some selling, somewhat evenly divided. So 3 sells and 4 buys. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So as I've mentioned, going forward, I'm just going to orient it based on the largest premiums. So the largest one was 819,000, and that was done at 1150. But aside from that though, nothing too crazy to kind of write home about. and it is a little bit on the low end for the frequency in comparison to what it normally is. Aside from all of that, with it at that 767, you just really need to watch for that 783, at least in the short term, for it to really get above that. And then if so, you could easily see that 8 and then potentially double digits. One thing that hasn't come out is any analyst ratings associated to NIO's monthly and also their quarterly numbers. So that's been a solid like 6 days of nothing, which is very also abnormal for NIO. So hopefully we get some of those coming down the pipeline. Aside from all that fun stuff, again, you can kind of see that there hasn't been any new ratings. Last one did come out on the 23rd. No real articles kind of talking about NIO or anything along those lines. But on the actual chart itself, it is technically still above that 10-day moving average. And also comparing the market position from today, from I guess Friday, you see a little bit more willing sellers, but still a little bit more willing buyers, more around that $7 range. So very good support levels at the end of the day, especially based on that $7 being one kind of key level to watch for support wise for the fib levels. I think generally NIO is just waiting. Nothing really wrong with that. At the end of the day, their upcoming earnings could be that big thing that really pushes it to like high highs, similar to what happened in 2023. A lot of people are starting to look back at what has happened with NIO, and even just still, despite everything, NIO's been doing fairly good recently, but coming from a PS standpoint, it is still at a crazy discount. So I'll kind of talk on that later in let's say another video. I'll compare just Chinese EVs, American EVs, and I know you shouldn't really correlate the two, but still, given the output that NIO does, it's crazy cheap. So at the end of the day, it's just a waiting game. And for those of you that have been patient, now is the time for things to get very real. So in my opinion, I think it's just going to be a matter of no time before it gets back above, or potentially even close to that 200-day moving average, which is currently sitting at 986. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.